Hello, I'm James Harvey, the professor of music theory at the College of Southern Nevada with 5-Minute Music Theory. We'll start the timer and we will talk in this video about the concept of the pivot chord. So let's take two keys, for example, C major and G major, which are very closely related to each other. In C major, all the diatonic chords, we have C, we have D minor, we have E minor. I'm going to just quickly go through all of these. F, G, A minor, and then B diminished. So those are our diatonic chords in C major. So in G, we also have a G, we also have an A minor, we have a B minor, we do have a C major, we have a D major, we have an E minor, and we have an F sharp diminished. So if we compare these two keys to each other, these are only one accidental apart, so they're considered what's known as closely related. There should be a lot of common chords here, and I'll circle all of them. Here, 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 and here. There are, in fact, 4 common chords, which could all be used as what's called a pivot chord. When you pivot from one key to another, imagine that you're walking in one direction, and then you take a step, and before you take your next step, you pivot, you move in another direction. At that moment of that step, you're moving in the first direction, and then you change direction without taking another step. A pivot chord actually exists in the world of 2 keys at the same time. If we're going from C major to G major, we would take one of these chords, and on that chord, it would be ending C major and beginning in G major. So I'll show you sort of how that works. But before I erase this, I want to talk about some of these to avoid. Any chord that has tonic or dominant function in either key that you're dealing with in a modulation should be avoided if possible, because they have such strong function that are a little bit difficult to deal with. You'll see it done and you might have to do it from time to time, but there are definitely 2 of these chords that are better options. The C is not a very good option if we're modulating from C to G, and let me write a little arrow here, say we're modulating from C to G. Using C major is not a very good option here because that's just going to sound like a tonic chord, and if we want to shift keys, we can't use a tonic chord in C major. And then the G major chord is a little bit iffy as well because it's both a dominant in the first key, it's a tonic in the next key. So if you use a G major, it's hard to get it out of C major because it still sounds like a dominant chord. So what works best is E minor or A minor. Now I'm going to erase. I'm going to show you how we can use one of these chords. I'll use A minor to get from C major to G major. And I'm just going to write Roman numerals here. C major. So let's establish C major. You must establish a key before you can change key. And the way you establish a key is by going through the cycle of tonic, predominant, dominant, tonic, or more. And I'll use a predominant chord. Let's do a supertonic 6, dominant, tonic. So we've now established C major. Now I'm going to use a pivot chord. I'm going to use that pivot chord of A minor, which in C major was a submediant chord. In the key of G, I'm going to use this little step marking. This is how we write modulations. I'll put G major because what's going to happen is on the top of this chord is what's happening in C, and on the bottom is what's happening in G. And in fact, that A minor chord, I'll just write that here, that this is an A minor chord, is in the key of G a supertonic. And from this point forward, we're in G major. So we can go like this, and we've modulated from tonic or from C major to G major using the A minor as a pivot chord. We could do the same with the E minor. Let's try that. So in the key of C, E minor is the mediant chord. And then think about what E minor would be in the key of G. It's a submediant. So now we need to, from this point forward, do whatever a submediant chord would do. Submediant tends to go to one of the predominant chords, and then we go dominant, tonic, and we're in the key of G. It's kind of a cool little sleight of hand going from one key to another. It sort of takes your mind off of the first key by using this sort of hazy chord that's far away from the tonal center, and then replaces what you're hearing with the new key. And if it's done very well, you almost don't even notice the change of key, which is sort of interesting. So again, just to quickly summarize what a pivot chord is, a pivot chord is a chord that exists in 2 keys at the same time, and it's used to modulate in what's called a common chord modulations. Like this E minor chord is a common chord between these 2 keys. And then once you've hit that chord, you're in the new key. So it no longer exists in C major after this common chord in our example here. Thank you.